Okay. Now, if you open the project in your text editor of choice, you will notice that unlike the component I have up here for app.js, you have a functional component. I wanted to talk about that right off the bat. So when this project was generated with Create React App, and by default, Create React App's app.js file will look something like this. By default, it will use a class-based component. However, there's a common rule of thumb in React that if you don't need a class-based component or any of the methods it provides, you should use a functional component. So what is a functional component? Well, it's simply a function that looks almost identical to this, and so we'll just refactor what that would look like. We'll just do function app, okay, and then we'll take props as a parameter, and we don't need a render method because we are just returning just static JSX here, okay? Save that, see what the error here is. Just gotta fix the indentation. Okay. Okay. So still in business, stuff still works, and that's a worthy side note as well. And it's a good just kind of edit, and it's like a good development flow to like make a couple little changes, save, check the console for errors, make sure everything's still working in the browser, then repeat. You know. Okay. So now we have this just kind of boring basic component. And so we could go ahead and just start building building a web page, or like a little page if we wanted to. We could add like a UL and add a CSS class. Okay. And we could add some list items. Okay. Maybe I'll add an H2 and say like, why is React so great anyway? And then maybe like say like it's fast, it's flexible, and then like I don't know, something. It's composable. That's what I was thinking of. We'll talk about that more in a second. Save that. See what I did wrong. See? Just got to change that to an H2. Okay, matching tags. Great. So still working. And as just inspecting the thing here, the React Dev Tools, we've got some other stuff going on, which is pretty cool. And then we can add some more CSS classes, you know, which I wrote beforehand, you know. And then this merits a little side note before we continue. When you add CSS classes to React components, you use class name, like this, camel case. And that's because class in JavaScript is a reserved word. I mean, basically, like if you say class, the interpreter thinks you're trying to use a class, like a JavaScript class. Okay, so we could keep going on our merry way all like this, but it would, before too long, it would turn into kind of a big unwieldy component. So that is kind of the takeaway lesson number one in this series here, is when things start kind of getting all bundled up into one file, it's time to refactor. And what do I mean by that? It has to do with the composable thing, by the way. Okay, so right now we just have a source directory with a components folder. It has app.js. It has a test that was left over from Create React App and some CSS. So the same way that you learned to kind of split up your web pages semantically, you kind of can use that way of thinking in like splitting up pieces of your app, of your components, by by feature. And let me show you what I mean. So what I'll do is in components, I'm going to add a header.js file. And then if we just take a look there, we see, yeah, header.js is in there, okay? And then let's go ahead and open it, okay? So first thing we got to do is import React from React, okay? And then we can do just the same thing, just a regular old header, sorry, regular old function, okay? And we can do return, okay? And then just grab all this, put it in here, make sure to wrap it in a single tag like this. React gets mad at you if you try to have two tags side by side like this. So we got to put them between one single div. Okay, so once we've done that, we got to make sure last of all to export default header. Okay, and I need to remember to add my semicolons so it doesn't get mad at me. And then if I go into here, I can do import header from header. Okay, and where those two headers were, I can just stick that header right there. Save. See if there are any errors. I don't see any errors. Oh, it wants me to add a semicolon. I'll do that. Okay, and everything still works. All right. Now in the DevTools, let's take a look here. You'll notice this header component is now popping up, and it has the H1 and the H2 that we had before. Pretty cool. I just realized that I made this kind of an old-fashioned function statement, and I made this a fancy new function expression with const declaration. They will both work, however, if you do one or the other, it's best to stick to one. That is, best to stick to writing function expressions like this if you want to use that, or function statements like that if you want to use that. Okay, so it'd be good for you to pause the video. Oops, let's fix that. It'd be good for you to pause the video and see if you can refactor this thing into a new component called list. So what you would do is in in the source directory inside of components, you would make a new file. Okay, so source components and then list.js. Okay, and we can see there's the list right there. And then open the file like we did before. Make sure to import React. Make sure to export your component and just refactor the UL into there. Okay? So try to do that on your own. And then when we come back, we'll look at we'll take a look at actually making this data kind of dynamic and interesting.